everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Victor Marks Show. And we're featuring a fascinating guest. I like that word fascinating because he is. We're talking about Mr. Byron Rodgers. Byron served in the Marine Corps before becoming a private security professional who successfully operates his executive protection company. And listen, hey, people, he's been in more than 60 countries over the last decade doing this stuff. He's the real deal. There's a lot of mall cops out there pretending to be security, executive security, bodyguards.
True story.
This guy is this guy's a real deal. Besides that, he's an author and he's CEO of the Bravo Research Group and founder of Protection Nation. This is going to be a great interview. So let's jump right in, brother.
Hey,
welcome.
Hey, big bro.
To the show.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. It's surreal. Our paths crossed years ago, and since then, it's just been amazing to see you impact and disrupt the forces of darkness in so many ways. So I'm honored to be able to join forces and do anything with you anytime you give me a call. Absolutely.
You bet. Well, and I'm proud to see where you've come from, your steadiness, your tenacity, and to build and make an impact with really favorable outcomes in this world of executive protection. And you know what I really just love is that you started equipping regular folks. Right?
Yes, that's the aim. That's the game. 100%, man. Because that's the front line. That's the real first responder.
Yep. And I'm telling people, everybody listening today, by the time we're done, and this is going to go very fast, so tune in. Catch us on the podcast if you're listening to the radio. But you and forward this to friends because we're going to give you some really practical steps on how to become your own bodyguard, how to become your own executive protection person. Because you are your principal in your family, and you have a right and responsibility to defend and protect yourself and become a hard target, as we call it. But so let me ask you, how in the world did you get involved in executive protection?
Right place, right time, right relationships, the grace of God. Really, it was my path. People be like, they say I didn't choose the game chose me. That's really been my life,
True story.
Got out of the Marine Corps. It's the only job I've had as an adult. Got out of the Marine Corps, got done fighting in wars, was over in Iraq twice with infantry with 3-1, Lima Company Weapons Platoon. Anti-tank, I was in assaultment, so demolition, rockets, kicking doors. We took over, dozens and dozens of cities. But as I was getting out, I was like, Father, what am I going to do? I can hold a gun. I can hold a gun for someone. So I guess I'm relegated to law enforcement or maybe going over and doing some private contract and private military work. Those are really the only two options I saw. I started to look down those paths and my Heavenly Father just told me, and I've heard his voice a few times, saved my entire family's life when I was about 5 in the Bahamas, listening to that voice. And on like one of the 3 audible times I've heard his voice, but this was one of those times. And he said, hey, go to this bar down the street, get a job. You're going to become a bodyguard and travel the world. Boom.
Wow.
And I knew in that moment, I was like, okay, cool. This is the voice that saved my life. As the only person that's ever been with me my whole life, no matter what anyone else has done. And I was in a relationship at the time. And my girl at the time was like kind of a new believer, maybe just doing it because I'm all about it, And she was like, no way you're going to go work and be a bouncer at this club. There's this bar down the street. And I was like, listen. And I actually said I said a really Jesus-y line, which I hadn't thought of in that moment. It just came out. I wasn't even thinking about Jesus. I just literally was like, listen, I know what I heard. All I ask is that when it happens just as I said it's going to happen, all I ask is that you believe. And then I proceeded to go get that job. I worked for about 3 months. I was a bouncer, but I was trying to be a good dude, busting some tables, cleaning some stuff up. A couple of dudes were like, hey, why don't you have him do it? I was like, what's going on, guys? Have him do what? And the other guy was like, you got combat experience? I was like, yes, sir. He's like, you getting out of the Marine Corps, right? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, go and get these permits. I'll show you how to make a lot more money doing what you're doing. I give him a call back, do my part, blink. I'm on a job interview, Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. I can't even get into the jewelry shop where everyone is because there's no handle on the door. It's VIP only. They only open the door if they know who you are. I'm just standing out there like, I think there was supposed to be an interview here somewhere. I'm that guy. The door opens. I meet my client. I'm doing my interview, down there in Beverly Hills. And then I blink. We hit, 50 or 60 countries in that first year. So it was like drinking out of a fire hose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
man.
yeah.
We did that on
What's one of the biggest what's one of the biggest things you learned out of that first year?
Keep your mouth shut and your ears open. The glass is.
Hey, we can stop the broadcast right now. I mean, that's
right?
a wrap. People, we just gave you gold. That's gold
man.
right
That's
there.
The game, for me, it was just, hey, the cup is half empty, half full. So I know what I bring to the table, but in order to survive in this new world and at this new level, just shut up, take it all in, learn, absorb what's useful, disregard what's useless, add what is essentially your own. And before you can do that effectively, you need to learn a whole lot before you know what's actually useful and useless. So shut up and take it in, man. So I just thank God for every moment and just took it in and survived because of that.
I love it. There's a lot of young men these days. They're pretty emboldened because of the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And because of social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, every once in a while we'll have them pop off and try to school me on something, and I just recently told, it was a youth pastor of all things, no humility, nothing. And he literally said, I'm about to throw you under the bus publicly.
Oh,
and
okay.
And I was like, oh, I want a front row seat to this.
Yeah.
Bring it, young man.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we were done, I was like, man, before a razor ever touched your face for the first time, man, I had more scar tissue than you are old. So it's young men, listen, especially young men who want to be warriors. There are different types of warriors. Whatever lane that God's called you to be in, because this is our first takeaway right now. Listen to Byron, seasoned combat vet, one of the best in the business for EP, and now training others and equipping others. Keep your mouth closed and listen. That's why you got two ears and one mouth. Show a little bit of humility, especially when you're addressing some of the gray hairs, because, folks, this is the truth. You look at men who are been around in a profession that's supposedly a young man's game. They're there for a reason. And I don't care what field or what area it is. Listen. But the other thing that stands out about you, outside of your handsome good looks and brawny body and crushing power, is you love the Lord, man. You actually love the Lord. This ain't no game for you. This ain't an angle.
No.
You really do. Why?
I have and on what you just said too, it makes such a big difference is understanding I'm a powerful guy, and knowing that, and I've cultivated that for a lifetime. But man, when you're in new environments or you're trying to go to new levels, you want to make higher quality decisions. You want your life to elevate. You got to make higher quality decisions. You need higher quality information. And that information is going to come from you being able to extract it from your environment, having higher quality decisions, higher quality conversations. And so that one thing, if you guys are really trying to elevate, you want to be as good as you can be. Listen. That's your secret weapon. And with all these participation trophies being handed out, telling you you're special just for being here, your mama loves you. Your mama always gonna love you. Your mama always gonna love you. That don't count. In the man world, your usefulness, your effectiveness. Ain't no participation trophies in the man world. You got to earn that. You may have been born a male, but you're gonna have to earn respect from men. And that comes from being right.
It's true. The ability to adapt and overcome, find solutions. I tell people who work on our teams or come to work with us, I go, hey, here's the deal. If I ain't saying nothing to you, then you're good. because
Yep.
that's my leadership style. Every once in a while, I'll give you an attaboy, but I
Mhm.
got, we got director of operations, Colonel Teagues, that
Mhm.
follow up a little better with you. And, I tell guys just look, be responsible and accept when you blow something. This is the biggest thing
Oh
for
man.
real world. Accept it. Be responsible. Say, yeah, that's me. And then give me a solution.
Yeah.
Because we have to be solution oriented.
Yeah.
And if a person's not teachable and they're arrogant, well, then we'll run them off. It's a short lived
Can't
deal.
help
But we get people all the time saying, "Hey, how can we get on your teams? How I want to." And from the guy who's 60 that says, I can't shoot a gun, but I can shoot a bow, and I'm about 40
it.
pounds overweight. I'm ready to go. I go, man, I appreciate your heart, warrior. To the guy who's telling me why I should be. God's telling him I need to be on the team. I'm like, well, hey, he's got to tell us, and we
Yeah.
actually don't have any openings. But talk to
Yeah.
our CEO who has 1,000 missions as a Delta operator, leading A Squadron. His team was called Rats on Acid. 5 Bronze Stars and a Silver in V for Valor. Most humble guy ever. But
Generally tends to
in
be the
real
case.
world life, in real world life, man, be humble, listen, be
Yeah.
solution oriented. I mean, when I'm given the good colonel direction, he goes, Roger that. Commander's intent. That's wisdom. Didn't see it. And
Yep.
then for us, because we're making decisions, he says, we're often in violent agreement, Victor.
That's a great way of
We're
saying
saying,
it. That's
isn't it?
outstanding. That is good. I'm taking it.
And yeah. So listen, conflict and trying to get to a resolute point. It's sometimes you're saying the same thing, but you got to work it to get there to execute. Now we've just learned to do it in seconds, not
Yeah.
hours,
Mm.
and there's no butt hurt over stuff.
Yeah. As a young man, I grew up in church. My father was a big businessman in the Bahamas. Very hard man, got shot at point blank range with a shotgun, survived. Helped me understand how he did that. Yeah, in the middle of the jungle in the Bahamas, had to get drug out by his feet, declared dead multiple times on the operating table. Said people die when they give up. Hard man. Still might have to shoot him, still might not fight him kind of guy, right? So, one of those guys. Um, but he wasn't around. So growing up, for me, how am I going to become a man? And how am I going to become a man I can respect? I have this engine in me. I know I'm a warrior. I've always known I was a warrior. And I really just at a young age started to cultivate a relationship with the Holy Spirit, a relationship with the Holy Spirit. That's what the whole game was. I didn't have a father really there. And I was playing half the year, school year with my mom in Washington State, the other half of the year in the Bahamas. So I didn't have this I didn't have any kind of safety or anything. So I learned to fight by myself at a young age. And, 5 sisters and going into Washington State, I was a lot of times the only black guy around a bunch of white folks or around a bunch of Samoans. So I had to learn to be the only and I had to learn to fight alone. And then in the Bahamas, I was the American, I was a little chubby too. So I was like, hey, fat boy. I was a soft American, so I had to fight all the Bahamian kids. So I had to learn to fight alone once again. And my life just really always had this component of being like the naked and afraid. You're on your own. It's you and your God. Get through it. And so I really cultivated this relationship at a young age of, and then as I grew, they started to try to give me like people that I could look up to in the church. And I always was kind of like, man, this dude's like good. He's a good dude. God bless him. But he kind of soft. You know what I mean? Like I'd probably take, I was trying hard, man. I was trying hard to look up to some of these dudes.
I
And I was
love it.
respectful, always
No,
respectful, but I was a warrior. So I had to talk to
right.
the Lord about it. And he was like, look, man, there's plenty of warriors in my book. Plenty of warriors. I don't care what they say, even if they try to make me look like a hippie and all this stuff. Love has so much to do with war even. And so I really started to really feel at home more with the relationship and understanding of my father and my relationship. And then he's just been there for me my whole life. I should have died in Iraq. Came out of my mom upside down with umbilical cord wrapped around my neck on Halloween night. It's a skeleton. There's a scorpion in the room, ran out from underneath the bed when I was born. Like there's always been these things. I've almost lost my life a lot. And the only person that I've ever been able to say, while I lick my wounds from getting punched in the face or chewed up and spit out and alone and no one knows what to do and no one cares, has always been the Holy Spirit. I've always been like, Father, when I got hit with 60 some pounds of homemade explosives and I was a pile of guts on the floor in Iraq, and I was like in another dimension, looked at my buddy who's looking at my body. And I was like, that's it. I was talking to Jesus. And every time I woke up and couldn't breathe because someone was strangling me, I called on Jesus. And every time, when I saved my family's life because I heard an audible voice at 5 years old in the shanty towns in the Bahamas, it was because, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and told me what to do. I had no idea what was about to happen. But, so he's just been with me my entire life. And so, being a warrior for the light has really been an organic thing. And then as I came of age, I said, Father, how can I serve your kingdom as a warrior, in this real world, in this modern world? And he's always been faithful to give me a mission. He gave me the Marine Corps mission. He gave me this career as an executive protection agent. And now he's given me this mission of making the world a safer place by helping good people become more dangerous, more willing, capable, and prepared to deal with evil, meet evil in real time out there in the world. Evil should fear good. That's where we're heading here with this effort to multiply competent protectors in the world. So that's a new mission, man. That's how that works.
My goodness, people, are y'all not motivated and inspired already? This is why Byron is a trusted friend, brother, and a fellow warrior. And I'm excited that we're able to really share you with our audience, because there's a lot of people listening right now, man.
It's an honor. It's absolutely an honor to be here, and be talking to the right folks, because that's the only people that can stomach you. You know what I mean? Is the people that are like, okay, I'm about the light, and we're pushing that forward. I think it's great to be here.
And I think uniquely, our audience is very receptive into understanding the need for masculine, moral warriors in this culture, because there's such a dearth. People started calling me, they nicknamed me the Dangerous Gentleman. And at first I was like, okay. And then it kept on. I thought, why are they saying that? And it made sense. That's because that's what we are, right?
100%.
We're gentlemen.
Absolutely.
But we want to be dangerous. It's like, hey, women need that.
Yeah.
Kids want to look up to it. Our nation needs it. And you are a solid source for that. So I'm gonna tell people listening right now, young warriors, you want to learn and get insight, not all the fodder and fakeness. You want to get something that's really real on how to become what I would call your own bodyguard. You need to contact Byron. And you have several different ways for people to. You're on social media. You've got incredible videos of breakdowns of real life situations and whatnot. But you have a course, and I'm actually a member of it. I look at your stuff. My head of security looks at your stuff. We're like, we know Byron's going to present some of the world's best experts, and then so how can somebody right now? Because they're going, okay, all right, I want to learn. How can they get a hold of some of that?
Absolutely. Go to go.protectornation.com and download our free training guide. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. That's how it starts.
All right, say that website again.
go.protectornation.com.
Y'all got that? Normally we got to say it twice because people are going to try to write it down. We're going to have it on when we post these, or we'll have these readily available for people to go to. Hey, you're able to download a free. You said free?
Oh, free is the key, baby. Yeah, absolutely. All free. Yeah.
Hey, so now right now somebody's listening, and there will be people that go, "Oh, I'm going to do that," and then they won't. You know why? Because you're lazy. You're lazy and you talk. You talk smack, and when your time of need comes, you ain't prepared. And you know what? Nobody to blame but you. Then those of you who go, I want to take advantage of this, and I want to equip myself, either starting or continued, you're going to take advantage of this. You have a resource library
Oh yeah.
that's second to none, in my opinion. I'm
Thank
like that. That's one of the reasons why I'm sharing this, and I've shared it on social media. But this is what our large audience, because of our podcast, and radio show, and whatnot. Tell them a little bit about what they can learn. Who are some of the experts or ways that they can really get equipped?
Yeah. The second free asset, honestly, is really just to follow me on social media, because I do real world tactical protection reviews of real world violence. So it's going to be like a 5 to 10 minute video of something that has taken place in reality. And you're going to learn protection tactics from a protection professional. And then I break it down as this is what this person did right, wrong. These are the outcomes. This is how he could have mitigated this much of the risk. So, follow me at my handle, Byron_Rodgers, RODGERS. Is a great tool, but I'm on YouTube. I'm on, Facebook, Instagram, but free content, a ridiculous amount of free content. I got hundreds of videos.
Ridiculous. It's a library.
And I'm dropping videos every day, but these tactical protection reviews every other day. So you can get lost in it. You can get a degree on there just following those things. Yeah. Now, with regards to the Protector Nation, this is more than just myself. This is, Tony Blauer. This is who's been teaching everything from managing fear all the way into his SPEAR system, which is a very simple and effective self-defense system that you don't have to train for 10 years to become proficient at. And it turns the human body startle flinch into a weapon. It turns your reaction into a weapon, different things like that. We have Yusuf Badu on there. Yusuf Badu has been teaching agencies for decades, behavioral profiling. So a lot of the guys I bring on, man, you think that guy's dangerous. That guy might just be in Starbucks to get a drink. Who's really dangerous? How do you understand what someone's subconscious mind is telling you about their intent in body language, positioning, proxemics, all those little things that help you stay left of bang, as they call it, left of that attack. If you look at a timeline, so much of protection has to do with, remember I was saying higher quality life, higher quality decisions that come from higher quality information, come from being able to see through the matrix, the way you look at the world based on the information you have, the soft skills, the way you move in the world, a safer pattern of life, right? And so a lot of this digital library is so valuable because you get to hear the thoughts and the ideas and the concepts and the principles and the tactics behind what some of the best people in the world when it comes to training these things have to say about it. Mike Pannone, Delta Force operator, Marine Corps recon, plank holder for the Air Marshal shooting program, still teaching to this day. Those are the most elite levels of our protection forces. One of the first contractors overseas. Dude shows up with one eye, a backpack full of money, making deals over there, and he's still dangerous, So we have a whole digital library from probably about a dozen of these folks, along with myself. I do a whole brief on safe pattern of life, how to protect your home, how to set up your home. So everything from mindset to tactics, all of it is there.
Now there are people listening right now, and their ears perked up.
Yes,
because you've got your GI Joes and super spook wannabe guys that are like, hey,
low drag,
I want to learn some of this. Yeah, like I want to get this. I'm one of them. Watch me disappear, ninja. Okay, right. I'm back. But when you start talking about protecting your home and your family, now you got people saying, okay, that's what I want. That's what I need. Because I find the average husband, the average dad, the average person, just a good guy, has never been in a fight.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it is like, well, we're not supposed to fight and all that.
Yeah.
But he knows in his heart, I have a responsibility. Yeah. So that's why, hey man, I'm talking to you.
Right.
That's why we want to make you dangerous.
Exactly.
And so what's the best way for them to dial into that information, that course about helping to protect their family or their home and patterns of life and living?
You will have access to that through that go.protectornation.com website. That'll get you all that stuff. You can download the free webinar, the free training manual we have from all of those guys. There's like a dozen of them. They're amazing. And then you'll have access to that library of content from all of them as well. So you got the free side of great content I'm putting out, demonstrating value, reaching the masses. One little motivation for that is I have 5 sisters, and I got family. And when I tell them, hey, don't sit in your car and send a text message. Cars are coffins if they're not moving. They're like, yeah. You're security guy, Byron. You're my brother. You're my dad. You're my. So then I'm like, okay, cool. So now I'm microdosing them with a little bit of trauma, and I'm like, check out this video of a girl that was sitting in her car too long in a parking garage, and look what happened. And so now those people in your life that you need to influence, because they need to be smart and they need this intelligence when you're not there, because you're not always able to be there. All those videos, and especially the social media stuff, is a great way for you to send them something and be like, hey, take a look at this, upgrade your protection IQ, your PQ. And those videos are a little bit like, they're like, wow. And they change lives. The feedback I've gotten on
I love the term microdosing.
Oh,
I have 3 daughters, 4 granddaughters, 3 sisters, and a mom. Yep. And I remember my wife, true story. My wife, we met at church, but the next thing I know, she's coming to one of my, training classes, and it's all good, and I'm, of course, I'm trying to show off every time I fight. I'm like, hey, watch this move, girl.
Yeah.
We get married. She stops training. And I'll never forget our first little bitty house we're in it. I mean, it was so tiny, probably 600, 700 square feet. And she goes, I said, how come you stopped training? She goes, I don't need to train. I'm married to black belt, Marine. I got you. And of course that infuriated me, right?
You're like, you tricked me.
I'm not going to be there all the time. And it was funny because she goes, I can handle myself. I said, you can. And I remember grabbing her and slamming her into our front door. I mean, it was a decent push. It'd be a bouncer push, right? You got to move. Wham.
Little microdose.
Yes. She hit that, bent over, and started crying, facing the opposite way. And I was like, ooh, too much. Too much too soon.
Yeah.
I went over. When I went to grab her, she did a spinning kick right in my luggage. And I was lifted off the floor. I said, okay, you're doing good. And but what's amazing is from that point on, she said, I really do need to learn. I do need to train. And now she's been on multiple missions in the Middle East. I mean, we face ISIS together, Assad's men. We've had to hide from ISIS with our children.
Oh, that's more texture on there.
That's a whole different level. And she's so passionate about helping women understand the need for, to be prepared. So let me ask you this, because man, time is flying. And I want to have you back on the program, but what's one thing you would tell somebody listening right now? Let's say a woman, what's the one thing you would tell a woman about how to protect herself, her loved ones? I don't care if she's a 17-year-old working at Baskin-Robbins or, a mom with kids. What's that one thing they need to know?
Man, there's so much I want to say, about combat get an equalizer, get acquainted with it. A gun is a great equalizer, but realistically, the most effective thing, if I was going to distill something down to just one thing to start focusing on, obviously people say situational awareness, but it's more than that. It's so much more of it. It's a deeper conversation. Your understanding context, and I break it up into a few different categories. Context. Where am I going? What's my threat level in this context? Transitional spaces, like if I'm going to be going from my home to another place, 90% of the attacks happen in that transit. When I'm going from one place to another, those are my transitional spaces. This is how we tease out how to spend your awareness, because you only have so much bandwidth. And so you need to effectively understand when and where and how to spend that. Understanding transitional spaces, These are times when you need to be aware. You're going from your office space to your car. That's a transitional space. That drive from your office to your home, that's a transitional space, both on a macro and also micro level. If you're going on a trip to the other side of the country, that's a huge transition. So these are times when you dial up. So understanding context, not just transitional spaces, but context is one great way to look at your situational awareness. The second kind of piece of that situational awareness is tactical positioning, right? Men kind of do this. Old school dudes talk about it. We talk about it. When you're in an environment, where are you standing? And how much visual mastery do you have over that environment? Is it going to, are you going to have to turn your head and look at the door and pay attention? Is something going to have to catch you out of the corner of your eye? Or is it just kind of organically happening inside of your lane of control, your visual mastery you have in that environment? So constantly paying attention to your tactical positioning. Where are you standing inside the elevator right now? Who's around you? Who's in your blind spot? Proxemics. Who's around you? Who's in your blind spot? So tactical positioning is kind of like the second huge like shortcut I like to build into people's pattern of life so that they can start living in a more safe way. So context, tactical positioning, and then a rolling risk assessment. You know, when you're looking at people and you're looking at behavior, what's the risk in this environment? What are there any bulges on this person's waist? Do they look nervous? I'm looking for 3 different indicators when I'm interacting with someone to help me understand what they're really feeling and really saying. I'm listening to them, but the body language, you know what I mean? Which direction are their feet pointing? Are there any like tics? When I ask them a question, do they clear their throat? You know, what's their eye contact like? And with all of that rolling risk assessment that you should be doing to individuals constantly. With men, it's a little different because I walk into a room, I look almost every single human being in the eyes in my environment all the time. And we're having a conversation, an energetic conversation. With females, it's a little different. You do that, you're going to have dudes asking you for your number all the time, right? You know, but paying attention and then not assigning your own bias to behavior. If something looks off or something seems not right, or someone doesn't really have a reason to really be following you or interested in what you're doing, or maybe they're positioning on you, maybe they're getting a tactical position next to your vehicle and things like that are happening. Don't say, oh, nothing has happened in my life because I grew up in Orange County, California, so nothing will happen. Say, that's a target indicator. I'm going to trust my gut, or I'm just going to take this piece of data and I'm going to shuffle the deck. I'm going to go back inside. Maybe I'll ask the person at the gym here or someone at work to walk with me to my car and say, hey, there's some guy loitering around my car. Don't want to be weird, but, you know, want to be safe as well. Would you guys mind just keeping an eye on me, making sure I get in my vehicle? You know, I think with females, they have really sharp instincts, but I think that a lot of times they have a tendency to second guess those instincts. Like I say, women always know the truth. They always know the truth. They always know the truth in relationships and all kinds of things. And we all have these faculties, but when we second guess them, because we don't have any experiential information to validate them in our lives, like we've never been mugged or things have always been okay, that's when we make big mistakes. So kind of to really sum that up, I'd say situational awareness, but I'd go deeper into those 3 categories you'll hear me talk about ad nausea and a lot of my social media, which is, hey, get that tactical positioning right, understand the context of where you're going and what you're being and you're going to be doing and what that means to you. And then rolling risk assessment. What's my risk here right now? What's the risk here right now? And that can help you dial up and down your situational awareness in a way that will not really, really stress you out. The last thing I'll say about situational awareness is it's like driving a car. When you first learned to drive, you got in a car and you were like, yo, I got to do all this stuff at the same time. Like, I got to, you know, how do people even do this? After a few months, maybe a year, you're in your car, you know, combing your hair, sending text messages, doing your makeup while you drive, because you've written programming and technology and software into your mind to be able to do it unconsciously, competently. And that's how this stuff works. So that when something happens, you find that you've already done 2 or 3 things right. You're in the right spot. You've already got an exit figured out and you've seen the guy come in the door. And everyone else is still like playing Angry Birds on their cell phone or like thumbing through Instagram. And you're already like, hey, let's move, you know, and they're shortcuts. You won't even think about them after a while if you build them into your life.
People, I have just come up with a new nickname for Byron Rodgers. After listening to that, it's apparent you are the professor of the Protector Nation. That's who you are now. I'm
You're
calling
awesome,
you
man.
the
Thanks so much.
professor of the
That's so
Protector
good.
Nation. And you know what? You're helping people to become, to live. I mean, right here as we're recording, we've got producers and editors, and they're shaking their heads. This stuff is gold, and I'm so grateful for you distilling it.